Good evening. A massive transit announcement for Toronto as the province and city reach an agreement in theory. In a nutshell, Mayor John Tory has agreed he will support Doug Ford's Ontario line. In exchange, the city gets to keep control of its subways, which the province had been threatening to take over. Now, politics has always driven transit in Toronto, and today's announcement is no exception.
We have defended our TTC. We have found a way to move forward on transit expansion.
It is being portrayed as a win-win. The city keeps control of subways and the province builds the Ontario line. Premier Doug Ford's jewel in his nearly $30 billion transit plan, which replaces the city's previously planned relief line. It is supposed to give much-needed relief to this. The daily transit crush on the overcrowded Yonge line. The ambitious promise for the Ontario line is that it will run from the Science Centre to Ontario Place at a cost of $10.9 billion and a completion date of 2027.
I can understand people's skepticism. It has been a long time coming. On our end, there's a feeling of optimism and excitement about getting shovels in the ground.
Getting shovels in the ground is critical. Building transit in Toronto has been falling behind for over 40 years, and Toronto's population is expected to grow by 1 million more in the next 20 years. Today's agreement also calls for the province to take on the capital costs for the Scarborough subway extension. The city won't have to put up its usual 1/3 share of the costs for the projects. The province will cover them, which will leave the city $5 to $6 billion to pay down the TTC's mammoth $33 billion state of good repair backlog. Of course, all this is just before a federal election. The Liberals, who have used Doug Ford as a punching bag, today said they will support the plan for the Ontario line. Conservative leader Andrew Scheer recently also said that he would too. Doug Ford introduced the Ontario line to great fanfare in April. Since then, he's plummeted in the polls and was muzzled by the federal Conservatives while they campaigned. Today, he was noticeably absent from the fanfare. Instead of being at Queen's Park, where his transportation minister made the announcement, he was all the way in Kenora, a 20-hour drive away. This was a massive announcement. Why isn't the Premier here? He's as far away as he could almost possibly be.
Kenora's not that far away. I heard on the radio that people didn't want to drive 20 hours.
Now, the Premier has a lot riding on the Ontario line. He's promised he can do it faster and cheaper. So, if significant progress isn't made on it by the time the next election, the provincial election, rolls around, he is going to be the one wearing it. And one more note on subway expansion. The TTC is the least funded transit system in all of North America. So if the feds and the province don't help out with operating costs, you can build all the new transit you want. It will not be sustainable.